Present. Euler.
Yes.
Ferrazzoli. Mario.
Yes.
Freed.
Yes.
Gallatin.
Yes.
Garippa. Gillespie.
Yes.
Golia.
Yes.
Haber.
Here.
James.
Yes.
Chatwani. Mohan.
Yes.
Jin. Stan Jin.
Yes.
Okay, there you are. Kelly.
Yes.
Linda Lee.
Yes.
Joseph Lee.
Yes.
Liato.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Mahalsis.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Montgomery.
Yes.
Palzer. Allen.
He's
Patel.
there.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Popa.
Yes.
Rastogi.
Yes.
Shearer.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Wong.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous, folks.
We didn't give our yet.
Oh, there he is. Steve, is that a yay or nay on the minutes?
Yeah, I did, but I was having a problem with the muting. Yay.
Okay, yay, and I'll mark you present.
Okay.
I'm present, right?
Thanks, Steve. We another suspenseful board meeting minutes vote. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody. So we're just going to move on to my chairperson's announcements, and as usual, I'm going to sort of talk about the month we've already had. In terms of looking forward to the next month, we'll discuss that on the closing remarks. So we have had another busy month at Queens Community Board 11. Again, I'm proud of the activity of the board. We held a number of committee meetings in October. Really appreciate everyone who was able to attend. We had a Public Safety and Licensing Committee meeting chaired by Jack, Landmarks Committee meeting chaired by Bernie and Laura, Capital Expenditure Budget Committee meeting run by Joe and our area coordinators, Public Relations Committee meeting chaired by Adriana, and a joint meeting of the Transportation and Environmental Committees chaired by Henry and Victor, respectively. So just really appreciate all the chairs for their work on those meetings, to the staff for organizing them, and for everyone's work who attended, and our committee members. It's really appreciated. It's the kind of engagement activity that we need to keep the board moving and get more active in the community. We also engaged in a number of separate PPE giveaways. We had one in Little Neck. We did a Bayside giveaway, and also did a giveaway in Hollis Hills. Once we hold our PPE giveaway in the Auburndale East Flushing area, which we're looking to do over the next month or so, we'll have done a PPE giveaway in every area of our district. This effort is something that I'm really proud of. People have come out and volunteered, and we've been trying to engage. It's a positive thing to do for the community, and also gets us out there, flying the flag, so more people know about us and what we're trying to do. So I think it's really positive. Doug also ran an electronics recycling program with St. Anastasia's. It's really fantastic, Doug. We really appreciate it. It's a big service to the community. So thank you very much. I also know that a number of other board members have been volunteering in the community in many other ways, food giveaways, food stocking. It's really important. We appreciate all the work that you've been doing, especially during the course of the pandemic. So one other thing I wanted to talk about during announcements, as we told you that we would, we circulated to board members the quarterly, the budget, which we're going to be doing quarterly, sort of listing out our line items. And this is in response to something that Alan raised and some other folks have been talking about. We're really just trying to keep people apprised of the basic fiscal situation that we have going on at the board, especially while we have this fiscal crisis. But frankly, as a general matter, it's a good thing for people to be aware of. We don't want to sort of saturate everybody with information all the time, but a quarterly check-in seems appropriate. There is one item I just wanted to mention, which is that there was one piece of the budget where some funds had actually been allocated already that were listed in the unencumbered line. So that amount of the unencumbered expenses still available is actually, give or take, $2,800 less than what it shows there. So I just wanted to correct that. Other than that, those numbers should be accurate. if you have any questions or want to discuss that, please do contact the office. We can answer any questions that you have on that front. So last, before we move on to board member new business, I just wanted to mention that as many of you may have noticed, both in certain areas of New York City and around the country and the world, frankly, there's been an increase in COVID-19 reported cases and deaths, and we've seen an upswing. Regardless of what the cause of this is, I just wanted to mention that it's really important to remain vigilant and abide by social distancing measures and requirements, so we can do our best to contain this thing over the winter months. I just want to make sure that we're all staying on top of that and keeping that front of mind, because I realize that it's been a long time that we've been in this situation. Obviously, fatigue can set in, but we have to stay on top of this, and stay alert to it. So I wanted to mention that as well. With that, we're going to move on to board member new business. So we have a few folks. Doug, I see your hand, so I'll put you on there. I have a few folks that had signed up in advance. I'm going to go through them first. Henry, you're top of the list with the BSA update for this month. Joe, if you can unmute him.
Yes, thank you, Mike. There were 3 cases this month that were heard at the Board of Standards and Appeals from our community board. The first case is 205 Horace Harding Expressway. That's the gas station that wanted to add a convenience store and another bay. That case was adjourned to February of next year. There was no reason given why it was adjourned, but they have been making progress on getting things done that the board wanted. The second case is 15 Stewart Lane, Douglaston. That's the case where a applicant wants to enlarge a 2-story single-family home located in a bed of a map street. Stewart Lane is a privately owned street. It's not a regular city street. And when the case came before the board in October, the fire department objected to the application. The inspector had gone down that street and said the street is in terrible condition, that it's full of potholes, it's narrow in places, and he could hardly get a car down there. And he feels that they should put no standing signs through that street so that cars don't block the pathway, and also a street sign on Depew Avenue to identify the street as Stewart Lane. Also, what happened there, the chair said this is a very bad situation because if a fire truck cannot get down this street where there are other homes located as well, it could be a very, very dangerous thing. And she also said that what would happen if another person that lived on that lane applied for to do a similar kind of expansion, it would be denied as well because the fire department would also object to those applications. So what she suggested to the attorney was that he should go to the people that live on that lane. There's several homes on that lane, and ask them if they would be willing to chip in to repair and repave that particular lane. There's an easement there that allows the people to use the lane, but apparently there's no clause in the easement that says who is to pay for repairs when repairs are necessary. So she wanted him to be going to the people to ask them if they would be willing to chip in. And he agreed to it. And that case was continued to January 11th of next year. And the final case was the McDonald's in Little Neck, 25001 Northern Boulevard. That's the case where they're renewing a special permit to allow access drive-through to exist. And the chair was very pleased with this particular applicant because they were responsive to what the board had asked them to do. They filled the cracks in the pavement. They've been attending to the lighting that needs to be done. The only thing, she had a list of things that still need to be done. She went through them, and she just said that she felt that the site still looked rather shabby. She'd like them to do a top coat on the pavement so that it would look better. There's also an adjacent wall on a building next to McDonald's that needs to be painted. She asked the attorney if he would contact that building to see if they would be willing to paint that wall, or if perhaps McDonald's would be willing to paint that wall. And there's a fence that needs to be repaired, and there's landscaping to be done. And since the case was heard in October, she said it would be really good if they could get all of this done before the winter sets in. And the attorney replied that he would be willing to do all of these things, and they decided to close the case and continue the case to February of 21, so that a decision can be made to grant this particular application. Of course, they would want to see and make sure that all the things are completed that the chair asked for through photographic proof. And the last thing I just wanted to mention, two cases that we had talked about last month. Those two auto repair places and auto used car places on Northern Boulevard Alley. That case was continued, and the date for the continued hearing is now November 30th. That's all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Henry. As always, we appreciate your work with the BSA, and thank you for the update. So next up is Eileen. Eileen, I believe you wanted to make an announcement?
No, I just wanted to remind everybody, as this part of the CDC guidelines, get your flu shot. Don't wait any longer if you haven't gotten it. It's free at all of your pharmacies, CVS, Rite Aid, all of them. So please, don't wait till you're sick and then they don't know if it's the flu or COVID. Be careful and take care of that, please. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. Appreciate that important reminder. Thank you. Doug, I saw you had your hand up. You wanted to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to let people know about the last month. We had two large PPE giveaways, one at the Little Neck train station. We went through everything we had. Then we did the electronics recycling. I went through 3,000 masks and 4.5 gallons of hand sanitizer through the help of Ed Braunstein and Senator Liu. And Zion held on Saturday a drive-through Halloween function for the neighborhood, and it was hugely successful. Over 300 cars went through.
Wow.
So it was. It's been a very, very busy week for activities in and around this neighborhood with the help of the community board. So we should all be very pleased at what we're getting. We're reaching people.
Thanks so much, Doug. Appreciate that detail there. That's very helpful, and I agree with you. I think it's important, and it's great. The amount of engagement has really been fantastic. Albert, I see you have your hand up there.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, I just wanted to thank everybody who reached out for me when I was down with COVID, and it's appreciated. There were many of you who reached out to my family. We've all recovered. We're all fine, thank God, and I'm back to normal. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much, Albert, and we love you. We love you the way you are. So we're glad that you're back. It's great to see you in higher spirits, and so glad that you and your family have recovered. It's fantastic. Thank you. Do I have any other new business? I'm looking around and I'm not seeing anybody. Okay, so we are going to move on to the committee reports. As we have been doing recently, we're just going to talk about the committee meetings that require board action tonight. And it's in the interest of time, and also because the other committee reports either will be or have been disseminated to everybody. So please do review those other reports and email the office or the committee chair regarding any questions that you may have on those. But tonight we are going to vote to approve and submit to the city the board's capital budget priorities, continuing support budget priorities, and expense budget priorities lists. These lists came out of a long meeting held with our area coordinators and committee members this last month. So I do want to thank all of our coordinators and committee members for their efforts and the time that they put in, as well as Joe, Christina, and Jane. A particular shout out to Joe, who I can't believe you didn't lose your voice by the end of that meeting. It was pretty impressive. So thank you for your efforts there. It's no small task. The list this year is in many ways similar to last year. To give you guys sort of a broad idea of what happened, We did move a couple of items from the capital list into the continuing support list because those are being funded. And we did move some items, from the expense list to the capital list because we felt they were more properly included there. The capital list is sort of CapEx type expenditures, whereas the expense list is intended for sort of ongoing funding, as you'd imagine, sort of expense type items. So these lists were all circulated in advance. Everybody should have them. And I think essentially we're looking for a motion to approve those lists. Do I have one from perhaps one of the committee coordinators? Okay, I see Laura with the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I heard Steve. I saw Eileen first, Stefan. So I'm just going to go with Eileen for the second. Do I have any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, this is Ben Turner.
Ben, yes.
I have some concerns that the first item to change the configuration of Northern Boulevard, the area of Alley Pond. I understand that there's concern about the way the bike lane is set up now and the way things are configured there, but it doesn't seem like this plan will really be any improvement to what's there now, because the problems are around the entrances and exits to the Cross Island Parkway. And what this does is shifts the bike lane and pedestrian path into what is now parkland. And doesn't really address where the problem is there, which is at those entrance and exit points. So I plan to vote against this plan simply because it identifies this as the top capital priority, and I think that plan in particular needs to be rethought out.
Okay, noted. I know that's been the subject of discussion historically at the board, and I know that there's been some opposition to it, and obviously support of it as well. So it's not a surprise to me that some folks, have an issue with that. I know others support it. So thank you for that comment, Ben. Anybody else with discussion on the motion? Okay, with that, I'm going to call the question. Joe, can you please take a roll call vote and on the motion to approve the list and submit them as circulated?
Okay. Scylla?
Approve.
Scylla, yea or nay?
Yes. Sorry, I'm driving.
It's okay. Oh my God. Be careful. Adriana?
Abstain?
Karen Bale?
Yes.
Bind?
Yes.
Udabin?
Yes.
Cerezo?
Yes.
Chu?
Yes.
Chin?
Yes.
Claro?
Yes.
Kayado?
Yes.
Idris?
No.
Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Donahue? Euler?
Yes.
Berzoli?
Yes.
Freed?
Yes.
Gallatin?
No.
Ripa?
Yes. Yes. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. Gillespie?
Oh.
Golia?
Yes.
Haber?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jethwani?
Yes.
Jin?
Yes.
Kelly?
No.
Linda Lee?
Abstain.
Joseph Lee?
Yes.
Rob Liano?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Martino?
Yes.
Mahaltzis?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Montgomery?
Yes.
Palzer?
Yes.
Patel?
Abstain.
Pavauer?
Yes.
Popa?
Yes.
Christogi,
Abstain.
Shearer,
Yes.
Turner,
No.
Huang.
Abstain.
The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to get that submitted. I did want to take one moment to note something that was discussed at the meeting. The lists that we circulated, they're the result of a lot of people's hard work and input over the years, and many discussions and meetings. A lot has gone into that. I think.
Yeah. All right. So
Sorry. I think that it's important, to acknowledge that work and also figure out the best way that we can move some of these issues forward. And when we were talking about it, we thought we saw some areas on the list where we might be able to aggregate some items, shorten the list, make it a little bit more streamlined, some things that were related items. For example, some of the curb work was one of those areas that we talked about. We also thought that some of these items that have been on the list for some time and we haven't gotten some traction, that it makes more sense, or at least makes some sense, to pursue some of those more actively between now and next year, to see if we can engage directly with some stakeholders in city government and see, what manner in which we can move those forward. And if we find that those are true dead ends, is there any kind of a tweak we can make to this that might actually get us some traction on those issues? So there is a plan for us between now and next year to try and aggregate some of those items, push some of them forward, perhaps based on some feedback we get from city government, tweak them. We do want to make sure that we're using this process as efficiently as possible, and also want to respect the work that everybody has done to put so much effort into some of these areas that our community really needs help in. And for those members of the group here that voted no or have other issues or views on some of these points, I do welcome you to come to partake in that committee process. It can be a lot of work, but it can obviously be fruitful, and we want to be able to incorporate the viewpoints of as many people on the board as possible. So that moves us to the month ahead and adjournment, and we're making pretty good time tonight. So
Mike, it's just
yeah,
very quick. I'm just looking at this list. Is there any way to just somehow track the date when the item was actually suggested?
Yeah, sure.
In other words, have some of these things been on here for years?
Yes.
Just curious.
For sure, many of them have been on there for years, because when they don't get approved, they often stay on the list, and many of the things that are near the top have been there for a long time. If you'd like, Barbara, you can send a note to the office, and we can let you know when any item was first put on the list. It may take a little time for the office to get that information on a particular item, because I don't know that we have. Joe, do we have that? I assume we don't have just one list of that. We have to go back and look.
The old system itself, back when Susan was DM, before they changed it twice in the last 2 years, the old system used to track when the initial request used to be put into the system initially. The only way for us to do it now would be for us to go through our old files to see when something was put on. But the new computer system that they make us run all this through doesn't track it automatically anymore. So that's a long answer.
Yeah, and the short answer is, though, yes, things have been on the list for some time. But just to say it, that may not necessarily be an issue. Meaning, to what I just said, there is a key issue here, I think, in where are we putting our efforts forward, and how can we be most efficient with those efforts. But things obviously take time, and a matter of staying on the list for a period of time over a course of a few years shows the importance to the board, right? So it's a bit of a balancing act there. But I do think that we need to engage with the city on these matters, because if we're banging our head against a brick wall, we at least need to be cognizant of that, so that we can input that information as to whether we think an item should stay on the list or we should handle it some other way.
I'm sorry, just one thing real quick. I see that Wendy is here, and I want to make sure that her vote gets counted. Wendy, are you voting yay or nay for the adoption of the capital expense list?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
And then, so Mike, so I'm just thinking that it would be a good thing for us to know when was the item put on the list. And then also, is there any kind of, let's just say something was on the list for 5 years. Is there any place where we can see what the city's response has been?
Yeah, in other words, if you look at the list, Barbara, it's there. Joe, we have it on there, right? The response from last year.
Yeah. Well, on these lists, I think Did I not include last year's responses from the agencies or no?
I think you did. I
No,
see
you did. It's
explanation.
there.
So Barbara, you just got to look at the list and you can see the explanation from last year.
No, but it looks to me like the explanation is a request. In other words, it's.
Yeah,
it's
that's right. That's right. We do
So
have.
it's not, I guess, I'm just saying that I think it would be useful for us to know when did these requests go on? And then also, what was the city's response?
So we do have the city's response. That wasn't. Sorry.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
just
sir.
one thing. For this process in and of itself, that's not entirely useful, just because some of these are potentially items that were put on just this year. So this is the requests that we're making new, or ones that are possibly from years past. So there wouldn't always be agency responses. We get the agency responses in February, then the budget is adopted in late May, and then goes into effect in July. So the responses will be important once we get the responses for this fiscal year come the late winter, early spring.
But if you do have a question, Barbara, about an item on when it went on the list, please just email the office and we can do that. I don't want to make them go back and comb through the files for every item because, as Joe said, it's not automated. But if you have a specific question on that, please do so. But suffice it to say that some of these have been on the list for a while. Yeah, go ahead, Eileen.
I would like to know on Facebook, what are we going on as CB11 Queens, or is there a title?
Joe, can you email Eileen the Facebook link so that she has it?
And also,
yeah, it's facebook.com/CB11 Queens.
Okay, just send me that. And also, this woman from Queensboro, because I have a lot of nursing books that I want to donate. So I'd like her number so I can give her a call, see if they're taking them, because they're very expensive. No sense throwing them out.
Okay, I'll be sure to hook that up.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
It's my number too, so.
I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but that's Mrs. Montgomery who spoke from Queensboro community. Okay, appreciate the feedback. So we're just going to move ahead to the month ahead in adjournment. I do want to briefly talk about two items coming up this month. The first one is this prep folks for something that's going to happen next month, and you're going to get an email about this in advance of the meeting. But I did want to mention it here. So at our Public Relations Committee meeting this last month, John discussed the idea that he raised last month about posting our meetings on the internet. And the item was discussed by the committee at length, and a vote was taken to recommend to the board, in short, that we start to upload audio versions, so not the video versions, but audio versions of our monthly general meetings. So the monthly general meeting, but not the committee meetings, a reasonable period of time after those meetings happen. So this was just a recommendation from the committee, but it was the result of a robust discussion, that occurred at committee level. I realize, of course, that some of you may want to think about this and you may have some thoughts about it as well. So a vote on this is going to be on the agenda for next meeting in December. So that's going to be the time that we're going to discuss it. We're not going to discuss it now. There'll be discussion on the motion as usual available. But I did want to make you all aware that this happened at the committee and that a vote for that is going to be coming next month, so that you guys can think about it in advance. And as I said, we'll circulate the few sort of bullet points of what was approved for recommendation at the committee level. If you want to look for additional detail on that, you can review the Public Relations Committee meeting report that was circulated earlier today for some more details if you'd like. The second item, and the last thing I want to talk about before we adjourn tonight, and I still can't believe it's 8:32. So is this Destination Greenways project that Ms. Piccolo was going to speak to you about tonight, but we just didn't get her. But this is a joint project between Parks and Department of Transportation. And it's for greenways in the parks and also bike lane access to get from the community to those greenways. And for those that have been part of the Transportation Committee, and I think I've mentioned this at previous general board meetings before, we've been sort of calling this the sort of bike lane workshop. So this appears to be one and the same, the workshop here. It's going to be November 16th at 6:30 p.m. We're going to circulate and post the link to the meeting to everyone, so you're going to have it. But I did want to talk about it here because it's been a topic of discussion at our Transportation Committee over the last couple of months. And in fact, the Transportation Committee formed a subcommittee to come up with some ideas and proposals as a starting point for where the board can consider, because eventually the board is going to make a determination as to what position it wants to take on this project. The subcommittee was made up of Ben, Barbara, and Lander, and Victor as the chair of the Transportation Committee, and myself as the chair of the board also participated. The process that we're thinking here is, look, we're trying to be aware of the fact that the last time, for those of us that were on the board, the last time that bike lanes came up as an issue in our community, know that, that it was a little bit, suffice it to say that it contentious. It could have gone a little bit smoother. We like this process to go a little bit smoother. We'd like to be inclusive. We want to make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on, so that we can engage in discussion about it. People don't feel like it's being sort of dropped on them at the last minute, all those things. So what we thought was we wanted to discuss it at committee, come up with some ideas. The workshop's going to happen on the 16th. Anyone can participate in that workshop. So if you're interested in this topic, whether you like this idea or that idea or something in between, you should please come to the workshop so you can participate. After that, we're going to send this idea back to committee to incorporate the ideas we hear at the workshop into what was already discussed, and come up with some kind of a proposal to how we think we should respond to this to the board. And then there's going to be a board-wide discussion and a board-wide vote. Again, the idea of this process is to be inclusive, get everybody's viewpoint so we can work together and come up with something here that we as a board are comfortable with and has really been vetted and discussed. But what I did want to do tonight was sort of give you guys a sense of what did come out of that subcommittee meeting as well as the Transportation Committee meeting. No vote was taken on these issues. It was just a discussion, but it should give you a sense of what some people as part of that subcommittee and Transportation Committee were thinking. I'm just going to say in advance that I don't want to discuss this tonight. I don't want to sort of open the floor to a broad discussion on it because I don't want to say waste our time, but get into a situation where we're sort of going back and forth on stuff prematurely. I'm doing this for informational purposes so people have a sense of it. And to promote participation in that workshop on the 16th. And then further, if you have interest in this, come to that Transportation Committee meeting so you can be engaged in the committee level discussion and of course participate at the board. So as a general matter, the background concepts that we considered at the subcommittee and thought were relevant was that vehicular injury and death is a serious concern for residents of Northeast Queens. We actually reached out to the 111th and found out there were over 4,000 vehicular accidents in the 111th precinct in each of 2017, 2018, and 2019, and fatalities in each of those years. There were fewer this year, likely as a result of COVID, but there were also fatalities this year. And I believe when we asked for the results, it was approximately 1,300 accidents within 111th precinct thus far. These numbers are a little bit dated. It was a couple weeks ago when we got them. We also thought about the idea that safer streets are better for residents, regardless of mode of travel, and everybody wants family-safe routes in our community. But the parks in our community are some of the most valuable public assets. In this area, we have fantastic parks, and that we do have limited transportation options in Northeast Queens, both for internal travel and to other areas of the city. We sort of thought about the fact that biking as a mode of transportation is increasing in urban areas globally, in America and around New York, and that the DOT is promoting bike lanes. At the same time, we did want to recognize and do understand that, notwithstanding the growth of biking, that driving remains an important mode of transport for residents in Northeast Queens, and that any plan that we're thinking about, we have to keep in mind the fact that we do have many drivers here, and that's an important aspect of the way people transport themselves in this area, to use a weird expression. So to get into some of the details that were discussed, we talked about having quality over quantity. So rather than thinking about lots of bike lanes, that are unprotected and that may cause disruption to the community, we thought about one or two, a couple of protected bike lanes that had sort of high quality in the right places that would sort of do the job. So again, quality over quantity. Consideration was at the subcommittee level was discussed about having one protected east-west bike lane that connects the community and its parks with the transportation hub in Flushing, and one protected north-south lane that connects the residential areas and community interests within Northeast Queens, like schools and commercial shopping, to the other area parks. A concept that we talked about was endeavoring to have a net zero loss of parking spots as a result of the new bike lanes, because we know that people who drive in the community take their parking very seriously. So that was a talking point and a concept that we had discussed. And that protection of the bike lanes by parked cars as opposed to concrete barriers is optimal because it's more aesthetically pleasing. I know people don't like the concrete barriers so much, or at least some people don't. We talked about potential lane narrowing along bike lane routes, having an additional positive safety impact, and focusing on signage along the routes to increase safety, because that was some of the issues that people had on Northern Boulevard. And then finally, we talked about installing bike racks at areas of interest in the community, so bikers can safely store their bikes and property holders don't have to worry about those bikes being attached to property that they're not intended to be attached to. So those are the points that were discussed at the subcommittee level. It was then talked about at the transportation committee level, where a few additional points were raised, such that the fact that Northern Boulevard runs through our community and Alley Pond Park sort of splits our community might be necessary to put 2 lanes in north-south and 2 lanes in east-west to be able to accomplish what we're looking for. Also talked about ensuring that the bike lanes that were put in would be available 24 hours, so not only during the day or some specific time, and also the importance of maintaining the bike lanes, i.e. potholes, cracks, things like that, not just installing them, but ensuring that they stay in working order and can be safe over time. So again, I say all of this not to put forward any kind of a position of any particular person. There was no vote on these issues. These were just the discussion points that came out of the subcommittee and were discussed at the Transportation Committee. It's to give people a sense of what was going on at that committee so that you guys can think about it and have that information now. I ask that if you're interested in this and care about it, please come to the workshop. We want to hear everybody's voice. We want to hear what everybody thinks about this, and we want to discuss it. We want to be inclusive. And further than that, if you're really interested in this from a board level, come to those transportation committee meetings where we're going to discuss on this and come up with a proposal here to the board, whatever that may be, so that we can all be engaged in what I know is an area that's of interest to a lot of folks on the board and a lot of folks in our community, and it's an important topic. So I've talked enough, but I did want to give people a sense of that and what's been going on there. Victor, yeah.
Thanks, Mike. That's an excellent summary. I just want to remind the board that the Transportation Committee report, I believe, was sent out earlier today, this morning. It's a 4-page report. Very well done. Thank you, Joe and Jane and Christina. Page 3 basically details all of those bullet points that Mike just read and that we discussed at the meeting. So for further review, please take a look at the Transportation Committee report that you received earlier today. And as Mike said, we welcome everyone's input, everyone's discussion. I will add that from what I've seen about the November 16th workshop, Greenway workshop is really what they're calling it. We were led to believe it was going to be more of a bike workshop for Northeastern Queens. It's certainly that's going to be included in this. But from what I'm seeing, they're asking people to register, pre-register. So everyone that's interested, and I'm going to ask our Transportation Committee for sure and our board members, but really everyone on our board who has an interest should make sure they do pre-register. My guess is there might be a limit to the number of people they can do on this Zoom-esque interaction. And so they may not just be able to, they may not be able to open it up to hundreds of people who might want to attend. So if you are interested, please register at ASAP, like today or tomorrow.
We get the link.
We're going to circulate this to everybody.
Okay, I just saw that literally an hour or two ago.
Yeah, we just got it.
That we need to pre-register.
So thank you for that, Victor. That's really important. We just got this, the official.
Literally a couple of hours ago.
That's right. It's very new. We knew about the date and time for the last few days, little while, but we only just got the official invite shortly, just today. As Victor said, we were led to believe it was a bike lane workshop. I do believe that the reason it's a joint DOT and parks workshop is because it's about both the greenways within the parks. That's the parks piece, and the DOT piece is how to connect the community to those greenways, which is what we've been sort of focusing on, because we have great parks, frankly, and a lot of the bike lanes we do have already are in our parks areas. Not that they can't necessarily be improved, but what we don't really have right now, and what's one of the things that we're talking about and discussing, are bike lanes that really run through our community outside of our parks in a substantial way. We have some, but not very many. If you're interested in that, I was going to share this with the board, but I don't want to elongate the meeting unnecessarily. There is a New York City bike lanes map. You can find it online. It'll give you a sense of the types of bike lanes we have here in Northeast Queens and where they're located. I found it to be a helpful tool for me and a powerful tool in sort of thinking about this particular issue. But we will circulate to everybody the links so you know how to register if you're interested. We're going to post it as well on social media. Again, I ask, and I would say it'll be helpful for us in getting this out there to the public. If you guys retweet, like, share those posts, etc. I also want to address one thing before we sign off. This is just Poland Spring Seltzer. I've had an inquiry as to what it is that I'm drinking tonight. It is not a can of beer. I wouldn't do that on the meeting. This is just my seltzer. But want to just clear that up for the folks out there that may have had any misconstrued notions. So anyway,
you're having more fun than us.
Hey, listen, if Paul can be folding laundry, you know.
Who needs a beer when I have you
You should
guys?
be able to drink, you know, in your own, you're not driving.
Mike, we really don't know what is in the can.
We don't know what's in that box.
That's true. That is true.
Mike, just a quick, I know here I am getting long again. You know, this effort, whatever it is, I think we thought it was going to be more comprehensive. I think Transportation Committee's efforts are really more comprehensive. And we were talking about complete streets, not just bike lanes, but bike lanes included as part of a complete streets approach. We were talking about connecting to shopping districts and transportation hubs and the subways in Flushing and Jamaica. So I think transportation has a broader and bigger goal. That being said, this is a great opportunity, and I want us to be a big part of this. So everyone
100%.
that can attend on November 16th, please consider attending, and please do register, pre-register ASAP, because I really want all of us on the community board and all of us in CB11 to have a positive part of this effort.
100%. And we do want to look to coordinate. As a general matter, I see this as a springboard, but we're looking to coordinate with other community boards, other organizations, not just on this project, but all of our transportation projects. By their very nature, transportation, has to be a coordinated effort, and it can't be limited. Obviously, you're moving, so you're not just coming into CB11 or going out of CB11, maybe going through CB11. All the places you'll go. So listen, I just want to thank everybody.
Mike, excuse me, is DOT are they gonna be part of it, even if they're not?
Yeah. Yes, they're part of it. It's a joint DOT and
Oh, it is joint. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they're
All right.
definitely partners.
This has been open for a
good.
while now. I actually registered December 30th for this for Destination Greenways on Eventbrite. So I don't even know what the limit is, but I know it's been open for a while now.
All right,
Okay,
so
good
all
to
the
know.
more reason, thank you, Adriana, all the more reason everyone should please register ASAP, including myself. I just saw it an hour or two ago.
We're going to get this link out that we got today. We're going to get this link out to everybody so you have it. Okay.
Yeah, my guess, Barbara, is DOT is a partner in this. They've been involved from day one on this. My guess is the funding is coming through parks, and usually it's kind of follow the money kind of thing. So I think that's why that's a priority, the Greenway connection, which is really important.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not as much as we've been discussing. It's not as comprehensive as we've been discussing. That being said, I think we should be a part of this, and we should all be involved if we have the time and effort.
100%. So one last note before we adjourn is that the office will be closed tomorrow, Election Day. So please just be aware of that. And I do want to reiterate, I know some folks said it already, please do go out and vote. Please exercise your rights. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everyone joining us tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I see Doug. Second.
Second.
Stefan with the second. Have a fantastic night, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Good night,
Thank
folks.
you. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Have a good day,
Bye-bye.
everyone.